everybody. Wendy Sellers here, the HR lady. Thanks for coming back. We are here today to talk about human-centered leadership coaching that meets practical guidance. And we are here with an expert on this topic who has just started his very own leadership coaching business, Adam Weber. Hey, Adam.
Hey, Wendy. It's so good to be with you today.
Hey, we are thrilled to have you. JC is here with me too. How you doing, JC?
Oh, Wendy, I'm doing pretty good. You know, I was at work a little bit earlier today, and the CEO stopped by, believe it or not, and they laid out a whole bunch of cookies at the table. They said, go ahead, take 19 cookies. And they said to the new guy on the team, look out, that new person over there is trying to take your cookie. It really wasn't humorous, but it was horrifying in the moment, you know, picking on the new guy. And then we come to find out that the CEO's humor wasn't really good and they don't have friends. So, yeah, that's my takeaway on the day. You know, I feel the loneliness, though, too. Hence why I'm speaking from a place of trauma right now.
Yes. We're going to be talking about loneliness and leadership, chaos to clarity, and general leadership coaching. So I am going to just, throw this ball over to Adam. And first of all, give our listeners a little bit information about yourself and how did you get to where you are today?
Oh, gosh. Well, I got to probably where I am by doing the hard work of working through my own trauma and growth areas. And nobody comes by coaching without having to kind of see themselves and see the real version of themselves. But, the quick overview is I'm a two-time founder. I had two different software businesses, sold both, have played kind of every role inside of the business. I started in sales and kind of also then got into people and culture and doing operational strategy. And along the way, really was dealing with a level of stress and intensity of the venture world that I'd never really experienced, and it forced growth in my own life. And it was actually through a coach that helped me kind of stay sane, stay myself, become maybe even a better version of myself by kind of dealing with maybe aspects that I hadn't dealt with before. And I knew back when my very first coach, when I got coached myself, I was like, I'm going to do this for other people someday too. And so, yeah, that brought me to today. It's been a work in progress for the last decade, but I built software companies for 12 to 15 years before kind of now expanding my coaching practice. I've done this on the side for 4 years, and then I'm now doing it full time.
I love it. And you're also an avid pickleball player, huh?
Yeah, so avid. Thankfully, this isn't on video. Everybody can see I'm in if they were watching, they could see I'm in a full brace because I tore a ligament in my wrist because I play way too much pickleball, but I'm eager to get back.
Amazing. That's amazing. I'm in Florida and it's a big thing down here. And they're opening this big facility just a couple blocks from me. I don't know when. It was just announced. So I'm like, well, I'm running out of excuses to learn about this.
Yeah. And then you'll change, and then you won't be able to talk. It'll always come up in conversation just like this. It's just what happens. And you kind of have to just get out of the way and just let it happen to you.
Love it. Well, I'm excited about that. Hopefully I won't end up in a cast as well, but let's switch gears here a little bit. Oh, wait, JC has a comment.
I did have a real quick question for you, Adam, while we're on that topic. Why did the pickleball paddle break up with the tennis racket,
Is this a dad joke?
It couldn't handle the strings attached. That's all I got. That's fine. That's fine.
You had to.
All right, we're going to put the dad jokes aside. And we're going to...
JC's hot. JC's coming in hot with cookie jokes and pickleball.
And just for anybody that does not know, JC does have his own podcast, and it's called Interesting Things with JC. And each episode is only 2 to 5 minutes long. And so you can find it on all kind of podcast platforms or follow jimconnors.net on Instagram as well. And there's always these little tidbits in there, including dad jokes, but some really interesting things.
Wendy, you're too kind. I greatly appreciate you. And if you are listening in London, feel free to reach out. We are over the air as well. Enough of my self-promotion, though. Back to our amazing host today, two-time founder, Adam Weber.
What's up with leaders being lonely?
Oh, man. Well, there's a couple things that are up with leaders being lonely. One is that it's a lonely position because you have inputs coming from every single direction. You've got it coming from your board, who's putting pressure on you, who ultimately maybe holds your destiny in their hands. You've got it from executives who are highly ambitious and have their own strong points of view and deep down think they could do their job better than you, your job better than you. They think they could do your job better than you are. And then you've got it from employees who are feeling frustrated right now, especially as companies aren't growing super fast. Maybe there are people inside the organization that want to be moving up quickly. So that's one, is you get inputs from everyone and there's tons of work to be done. And where's the space for you to sit and process and think and kind of release that pressure valve? So, I mean, I think that's part of it. And I think the other part that's lonely about it, and, people love to hear good things about themselves, but the reality is, as your company grows, as you move up in your leadership, less and less people tell you the truth. Less and less people feel safe enough to tell you how you're showing up. And so all of these things kind of compound and you feel this overwhelming stress and weight. And usually if you're ambitious enough to have become a CEO or an executive, there's something driving you that maybe got you to that point, but you haven't really faced what that thing that is driving you is.
Right.
And pressure and stress does an interesting thing to start to expose a lot of that. And so it's all of those things. They're lonely things. And for whatever reason, when it's happening to you, you're always kind of wondering, like, am I the only one? Like you're almost embarrassed to say that too, because you've had this level of success that everyone else would dream of. Mm-hmm. And so you almost feel guilty also with how hard it is to kind of process through that.
Trust being a key factor. A Harvard Business Review survey found that 61% of leaders report feeling lonely in their role, with 70% of those lonely leaders believing it negatively impacts their personal performance. And according to a study by CEO Insights, 50% of CEOs express feelings of loneliness. And of that group, 61% believe that loneliness hinders their ability to be effective in their leadership role. Back to you.
Yeah, I think that goes right in line with what Adam was just saying. I mean, it's hard. You probably have people to turn to, but you're not sure if you should. Should I let that person who is on a different level than me know that I have this fear or this challenge or this strength? And, that's where someone like Adam can come in and say, hey, I can make you less lonely by being a coach, right? Someone that I could run to and say, I don't know what to do here. You're not necessarily making decisions for them. You're just helping them talk things out.
Yeah, if you think about the leader being under immense amount of pressure, coaching at its best kind of does the opposite. It's a release valve. It's a place where, one of the things I love is that people grow when they say things that they've never said out loud before, or when they can test out an idea. You can't really test. Sometimes you feel this, like, I can't test out an idea. I have to be buttoned up in front of other people, or I don't want to create chaos inside of my organization. So yeah, it's a safe place just to allow yourself to explore kind of all these inputs that you're trying to process through, or instead of being kind of paralyzed by them, it's like, how do I kind of find what's true inside of those and then create some motion and action from those things?
Yeah. So I like what you said, it's a release valve. Now that's for leadership coaching. It's different for other types of coaching, right?
I would think so too. Yeah. And I mean, that's one aspect. Coaching is there's a lot of layers to what coaching is. There's the other that is really helping someone when you're under stress. You begin to manifest these kind of negative behaviors and you kind of subconsciously. And part of coaching is helping people gain awareness of what those are so they have choice and agency and how they show up in those other environments, right? So like when I get triggered, which does happen to everybody, especially, I mean, if I have never met an executive team to date, and maybe they're out there, but because everybody just like wants this thing to happen so badly. So there is stress and pressure and people get triggered and people have moments that aren't their best moments. And part of growing as a leader is kind of facing those aspects of yourself that maybe aren't your very best qualities and starting to learn how to regulate them. And that's what growth is. It's part of the hard journey of becoming a mature person.
For sure. I think the growth thing alone is just focusing on that, coupled with the loneliness. You said it in the beginning when I asked you, hey, where'd you come from? You're like, I made a lot of mistakes, and so did I. And I write about them in my books too, where I think sometimes you just have to screw up to learn, because then you go, oh, that was painful. I don't ever want to go through that again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'd love to say that I had, and I have feel super grateful for the career I had. My first 10 years, I was in entry level jobs. And so to go from that to like what I've done, I'm like, I'm really proud of it. But it's hard for me not to look back and go, there were so many mistakes. I mean, I think a lot of my wisdom isn't from my success, it's from my failure. And it's from these key moments where I thought I should go one direction and I learned the hard way, like I learned that I just like learned aspects of myself and you grow so much through those failures too. That helps you become who you are.
Yeah, I mean, if you actually ask for help and then implement the advice, you're going to grow from it and go, man, I wish I would have asked for help a long time ago. That's me. I have a very difficult time asking for help, and my friends kindly remind me that all the time. I have a question on your website, which, by the way, I love your new website. You have on there chaos to clarity. So chaos is definitely something that I live in every single day. I say controlled chaos. I actually have a tattoo that says that. So what does it mean for you? What does it mean from chaos to clarity?
I've always, part of every coach is different and like what their strengths are, their natural strengths, that sort of thing. And one thing I've always felt like is very natural for me, not just the skill that I've developed, but just kind of like my home base, is being able to sit with a person who's processing like a lot. And to them, it feels like there's no logic, there's no sense to it. It's just kind of like, here's where I am, blah, it's all this stuff, and then being able to reflect back to them and synthesize a whole lot of content really simply back to them. Hey, what I'm hearing you say, here's where I feel like where I'm hearing clarity in your own words. It's these two things. And it's like this, it's pretty amazing because I'm not saying anything new. Right. I'm saying what they're saying, but in a way that is understandable to them. And it creates this kind of moment of clarity for them where they go, okay, I got it. Now I know what to do with this. And so instead of the rumination that happens with chaos, that's the thing that wakes you up at 2:30 in the morning. Most founders wake up. I mean, it's surprising how many founders wake up at 2:30 in the morning and here's the biggest problem. And for some reason, I'm deciding this is the moment to solve it, which is not a great moment to solve hard business problems. But there's something that does happen when you get that clarity that kind of releases you from not all rumination, but that rumination, whatever that kind of topic was.
Yeah, it is. It's for me, I'm a problem solver, even if it's not my problem. I like to help people backwards plan. Like, okay, you want to get here is what I heard you say, summarize this. Is this what you're talking about? When? How are we going to get there? Let's do some backwards planning. So many people don't know how to do that. I'm a huge list maker. Like, okay, we want to get here and we need things. Okay, by the way, we should have started 9 months ago. Now we need to move the deadline.
Yeah, I love that. That's a lot of the folks I work with. I do this vision exercise where I have them write in the present tense about the future. And some of that is just them starting to name like what they want their life to be like, what they want work to feel like, how ambitious are they with their business. Like I love working with super ambitious people who want to do big things in the world. I find it like super inspiring. But then once that's like crafted, then you have to actually get about the work of, so if that's 3 years from now, what needs to happen this year? What needs to happen right now in your life? And then that's really where coaching, how do we kind of how do you hold someone accountable to something that they actually want in their own life, right? It's not for you. It's not about me. It's about you decided this thing you want to be true. I just want to help you make it come true.
Love it.
A global study involving 700 CEOs and CMOs revealed that 86% of leaders believe managing chaos effectively can lead to huge business growth, while 60% of organizations that embraced structured approaches to chaos reported improved decision-making and strategic clarity. With that being said, we do have a question on the table. What is structured approach to chaos?
Yeah, I was just going to say that too. I was like, oh, I love it. A structured approach to chaos. I could project manage chaos. Yes. Hand it over to me.
I was like, that sounds like the most windy thing I've ever heard, actually. Like if you've got a tattoo with it. Also, JC, like I didn't know about this detail of the podcast and it is just a delight. Like I never know when it's coming. And I'm like, whoa, you have like stats on the very topic. Nicely, good prep work.
Thank you.
Thank you. But getting back to this question here, the structured chaos or the structured approaches to chaos, that's why they need somebody like you, because they're not thinking in that way. They're just thinking, oh, this is the end game and let's get there right now. And depending on their personality style, they may jump over many, many, many things and barriers that were put up for a reason.
Yeah. And then, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, that's me too. High D, dominant, direct, just knock things over. Now I know, like, okay, get somebody else involved that's a little more calmer than you.
Yeah. And I think so much of like just wanting like chaos, this happens a lot to founders, I would say too, where the challenge with if you just live in chaos, even though you can be productive, is you really fall victim to shiny object syndrome. And you need to go to that higher order of thinking that goes, where am I actually going? And then what are the most important things that I need to say yes to? What are the things I'm saying no to? So that when shiny object comes in, how do I keep clarity on where I'm actually going? Right. And not that you shouldn't pivot. Like, I think one of the, sometimes people are too slow to like, the reality is when you build plans, you build them in the moment that you're building them, and there's information you lack. At some point, there will be new information. It's important to be agile and pivot, but that is different to me than like, oh, next new thing. And that can really not only does it create chaos, as you start to scale your organization, it doesn't just create chaos for you. I think that's the reality of like chaos, is that once you start to scale, if you keep doing that kind of shiny object thing to other people, you end up creating that, it ripples throughout your whole organization. And then people are kind of wayward and like, well, they lose their sense of meaning and purpose. And like, where are we going? Like, what is this all about?
I actually have a question on that, but I think JC has a question as well.
I'm chomping at the bit, so I'm going to jump in right away. Adam, you led a little bit of a breadcrumb there into some methodology. So if we approach a situation as a leader from a mindset of agile leadership, that's one perspective. If we're dealing with an organization that may have been more familiar with like OKR framework or lean management, and now we're stepping into those shoes as more of an agile leader, we're also then maybe potentially facing culture change or having to set up cross-functional teams. I'm throwing out a ton of buzzwords here, but they all have to do about controlling chaos at the end of the day. So you did mention agile there briefly. Do you personally find agile leadership to be more advantageous for controlling chaos?
I think it's like somewhere in the middle between these two things. Like my standard format, and I work with a couple of the organizations I work with where I help build their strategy and then or facilitate building their strategy and then hold them accountable in this bi-weekly session where we review. So like on the one side, people build OKRs or their goal framework everybody's super ambitious and then they never really talk about it again, or they're so rigid they don't adjust to new information. And then on the other side, it's shiny object syndrome, right? And what I'm trying to do is kind of blend those two things together to say, when we build our strategy, we legitimately are willing to decide what is the very most highest order big thing that we're actually up to. And we're willing to even say of all the things we're up to, we're going to even say no to a couple things too. Like we show restraint in what is possible, right? And like what we're signing up for to create focus. Because if you don't create focus, you don't actually have a strategy. You're just moving inside the organization. So that's the first part. But then to me, it's then this bi-weekly meeting where it's both a combination of accountability and adjustments. What new information might change how we're like going after this strategy, right? And so it does have an agile nature to it. It's not so rigid. It's still fast and nimble. It also can't be too heavy. I think a lot of these operating frameworks right now, just they're heavy. And the problem with things that are really heavy is that people don't sustain. They don't like inside the org as well.
I love it. And, that was basically a similar question that I had. So you answered my question as well, just kind of about, all right, how do we get people, continue to connect them and engage them and with or without the chaos or with or without the agile leadership. And it comes down to what you just said, which is create focus, of course, create energy as well. Adam, I could probably talk to you all day about this, but we're out of time right now. Hey, how can somebody reach you for your new coaching business?
Yeah, go to adamweber.co.co, and it's got kind of the overview, all the stuff we talked about, kind of my philosophy on how I coach and what working with me looks like. And you can fill out a form, and I'd be happy to have a conversation.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. We hope this information has been helpful, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Take care.